Hi, good. We have beneficiary. Yeah, guys, just let me do my job, and I'll let you do yours. Okay, guys, you stay with us. Great. We have beneficiary, and we have Dustin W. Stout with us. We kind of out of we are scheduled and everything, so I'll let guys talk. Guys, it's all yours.
Well, Anton, thanks for having us, and awesome, Dustin. Thank you for being here too. Just getting off a trip from Vegas. We're actually talking a lot about what we're going to talk about today, which is social and content and the whole buyer's journey. And I'm with Steady Demand. Basically, we're a social media and a content generation company with a nice little slant on how it impacts more of the semantic web. So kind of like a social SEO, but like Mark and Eric were talking about, not necessarily SEO in the fact of how it impacts search, but how it kind of helps along search. And really what we're talking about today, which is how it affects the entire buyer's journey. Dustin?
So I guess my portion of this is to talk about social, because that's what I know best. That's what I've kind of come up through. That's the channel that really awoke my marketing sense, so to speak. And I mean, for me, above all else, we have to understand that the attention of customers, the attention of users, the attention of our target audience is on social media in one form or another, whether that be Facebook, Snapchat, Periscope, any of the hot new social trends. Whatever kind of a business you are, it's likely that your customers or potential customers are on social, and that's where their attention is. You know, years ago, attention was on the TV. Now it's shifting slightly to what's known as second screening, meaning people are watching TV, but they're also on their phones or tablets. And so social is merely a channel in which to reach out, to communicate with, and to put yourself in front of your target audience.
That is an excellent way of putting it. And absolutely true. When we look at the buyer's journey, you know, we're basically looking about how people's time is split when it comes to awareness, consideration, preference, action, loyalty, and then advocacy. And you can leverage basically all of the content that you're producing to really hit people in every single aspect of the buyer's journey, or the funnel per se, as we look at it kind of like sales. And I think one of the most important things is to be able to create a persona for your buyer or for your customer that really matches every single area of that buyer's journey. And by being able to create a persona that basically is answering the questions before somebody's even asked those questions, you're able to really keep yourself in front of them, so that way you can bring them all the way from the beginning, which is awareness, to the point where they are advocates, and they're the ones who are doing everything to basically help promote your company and bring you referrals and bring you leads, which at the end of the day, we know that's what everybody wants, whether you're creating something on social media or creating a blog post. You want some kind of a lead, you want some kind of business. And so
yeah, so essentially what Ben just talked about was a funnel, so to speak, a sort of for lack of a better term. I know the word funnel is thrown around so recklessly at times, but essentially it comes down to exactly what Ben said: awareness, consideration, preference, action, loyalty, advocacy. So awareness begins exactly what I said before, when you've gotten their attention, when you've managed to get yourself in front of your potential customer or user or target audience, whatever jargon you want to use for the day. And social is for me the easiest way to do that, because the barrier of entry is very low. You don't need to be highly technical to know how to use Twitter. You don't need to be highly technical to know how to use Facebook. Now, getting seen by more people is the harder thing. But here's where I think a lot of businesses fail, is they think that they have to jump in and immediately be at scale, right? So they need to jump on social, and their awareness instantly needs to be 10,000, 100,000, a million users. If their YouTube video isn't getting 500,000 views by the end of the week, and this is not true. And one of the things that I teach often is not to think on a level of scale, especially when you're starting out. We have to think at the level of one individual person. And we talk about buyer personas. We talk about figuring out who exactly that persona is that we're targeting. I say forget all that. Forget personas. Forget trying to figure out who your demographic is. Talk to one single solitary customer. Find out who that person is. Know their name. Tell me exactly what their wants and needs are. I don't want to know about a persona or an avatar. I want to know about Cindy Lou, who bought your product last week and how it changed her life. We need to find more Cindy Lou's. That's who we need to find. And that's how you're going to be more effective on social media. Another mistake, I'm starting to get a little ranty here. Stop me if I'm getting too much, Ben. But the second biggest mistake I see is that it's that businesses on social think that it's all about the effort they put forth, right? So it's like, what can we do to increase our engagement? What can we do that will get us more views? When that's the wrong thinking. Social, the real power of social is in your advocates amplifying your messages for you. And the only way you're going to get people to amplify your message is if you step back and get on that personal level with people where they trust you, that you're not trying to blast them a generalized message or an automated tweet or an automated message that was done by a robot somewhere. When people feel like you're a real business with real people behind it and you're speaking directly to them, they will amplify your messages 100 times over and save you the effort of having to think, I have to do this to increase my engagement. No. The scale of social media is going down to one person and having that one person reach out to their network and those people reaching out to their network. That's where the real power of social is. And that's how you gain the maximum awareness, not by what you can do, but how many individual people you can build trust with.
Sure.
Drop the mic, Ben.
But of course, the question comes down to is how you can scale that. I mean, like Mark and Eric were talking about, building basically out brand advocates, connecting with influencers. You can only do this so many of that. You can only reach so many of those Cindy Lou's, or Jeff Lou's, or whoever's, right? You can only reach so many of them in a good day. A lot of businesses don't have the resources, more importantly, or the time to reach every single one of those people. So if there's one actionable takeaway that I would say that you can get from this today, is that you basically do one thing. Instead of going out and reading a whole bunch of articles about buyer personas, and instead of wasting all of that time to build a buyer persona, which companies you can go ahead and you can pay them 10 grand and they'll do that for you, right? They'll give you a bunch of sheets and you'll never use it. Just do one simple thing, and that is ask yourself internally, what are 5 questions that you commonly get asked during the sales and during your operations with your customers? So beginning and after. Now, I'm surprised because most companies we talk to can't even come up with one for each one of those areas because most people don't document it. So if you don't have those answers, it's okay. Just start. Because if you can start doing that, you'll notice patterns. And then from those patterns, you can start creating your social media pieces of content. You can start reaching out to influencers. You can start creating blog content. You can start doing webinars, things like this. And you'll have reusable content. And then you can start focusing, while you're doing that, you can start focusing on those one-to-one relationships where you're going to do nothing but amplify your content. And that's ultimately where we want to get to, is you want to get to that amplification point. And Dustin, I'll hand it over to you because now we're going to talk about social sharing.
So here's the big thing that I think a lot of businesses really need to consider is again, talking about the amplification aspect, the idea of not relying on your own effort, but getting other people to amplify your messages for you. And there's some really great books out there. One of them that I highly recommend is called Contagious, I believe. Contagious, basically the idea of how things spread. There's another one, Shareology by Brian Kramer. Great book. But essentially, these books talk about the psychology behind why people share things. Like what psychological triggers motivate a human being to share something. And essentially, it comes down to a number of things, the most important of which I think are, at their very core, how does this make me look? Right? We're all vain. When it comes down to, bare human psychology, we want people to look at us and think highly of us. We want people to think we're funny. We want people to think we're smart. We want people to think we're in the know. And we want people to respect us and think highly of us. So when you're crafting your content, if you can keep that in mind, when I put this piece of content out there, would this make the sharer of this content look smart, in the know, funny, likable? You'll create much better content, and you'll be much more likely to get that content shared if you're creating it for the person who's going to be sharing it. So it's sort of like thinking a step ahead. Most people are so consumed with like, how do I make a great, valuable piece of content? They're not thinking, how can I make a great, valuable piece of content that will make Cindy Lou look good when she shares it? So it's sort of like one more step ahead, I think, than most people spend the time on. And there's obviously a lot of other things that you can do. Visuals are a great way to gain more exposure to content. I mean, actually, Stone Temple did a really great study on tweets in particular, and how images with tweets, or tweets with images rather, get, oh gosh, what was the number? Do you remember the number? It was like exponentially more engagement and more
20-30%.
Yeah, at minimum. Much more likely to get shared. So incorporating visuals into your social posts and any sort of content that you're sharing online, visuals are an immediate response. It's said that the brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than text. I haven't found the actual study on that, but a lot of people say it, so it might be true.
Just saying, Adam. Dustin. A picture is worth at least 1,000 words.
At least, right? I think so. And then just imagine what an animated GIF is worth, because that's multiple pictures. So use visuals whenever you can. But aside from that, I think the core at all of this is creating things that people like sharing and will benefit them from sharing, because they ultimately will consider their audience when they're sharing things.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I mean, if you're creating content that's going to make somebody look smart, or it's going to make them look fashionable, or whatever the keyword might be, something that's going to stroke their ego, then it does become more highly shareable content. We see this with Pinterest, we see it with Instagram, we see it even with Google Plus. Now, why a cat picture will get shared 1 billion times, I don't know. That doesn't make you look smart, but but people,
right. If you sit in the Ferrari,
but it taps into the funny.
Right.
What's that?
If it's a picture you driving Ferrari, well, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would appreciate share this picture, and they would think, yes, absolutely great. I'm driving Ferrari.
Yeah, so it taps into that, it makes me look good thing. And then there are the Ferrari enthusiasts out there. I happen to have a place in my heart for Ferraris. So I would share that, obviously, because I love Ferraris. And speaking to the cat element, cats are both adorable and very funny at times. So the other aspect of sharing that I didn't mention was, self-expression. A lot of people will share things because they want to express themselves. It represents a part of them, or something that they identify with in their personality. And cats are one of those things that kind of can tap into two of those psychological triggers, which is why, Catter Day is most people's favorite day of the week. But yeah, cats totally work.
Well, they work unless you're selling, I don't know, washing powder. Well, would cats work? I don't.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too. You always have to keep your target audience in mind. If Cindy Lou is a cat lover, then obviously a cat would be a great thing for her to see in a visual that links to your content. Now, if me personally, I like cats, but I've seen way too many cat memes in my time where I literally have like cat blindness. I don't see cat photos anymore in my stream. I just ignore them. But obviously, always keep your target audience in mind. If they're cat lovers, great. If they're not, find what they're really passionate about and incorporate those sorts of visuals, because that's going to be an instant recognition and instantly hook into who they are, and immediately they know that you're speaking right to them, and that's a powerful thing. Sermons and speeches and motivational talks, those types of speaking things, when somebody can sit there and go, I feel like he or she is talking to me, nothing is more powerful than that.
And you're hitting it right there on.
And that's where you want to be with your social content, with your website content, with your website copy, and that's exactly what you want to do and be.
Yeah, and that's a way that, bringing this kind of back around at the beginning, that's one way where you can kind of scale that one-to-one connection with your audience, with your advocates at the end of the day, with your influencers, is if you can speak directly to them without being in the same room or on the same video call or doing the same email back and forth. That's how you can bring yourself to the next level and not waste a ton of time while you're at it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
big businesses like airlines, they use Twitter, and they're very responsive. They probably have plenty of stuff, so they really check in Twitter. And if somebody says some flight was delayed and what the shit is it and blah blah, they usually answer. There are plenty of examples of that. But they're big business. They could, I don't know, put 10,000 people answering the Twitter, but much smaller business would be very difficult to do at that level of personal attendance. Would you think so?
I think even at the small level, I'll see if I can use one of my own examples. I own a small business. Okay, I actually have a WordPress plugin. It's a little thing that we created basically for ourselves, right? So we had a problem, and this is how many businesses start. We had a problem, we solved it for ourselves, and we realized, hey, other people might have this problem too. And so we began sharing it. Now, I didn't start by doing a Facebook marketing campaign. I didn't start by going and buying a 10,000 followers on social. What I did is I started to go one by one to my friends on social. I said, hey, I just created this thing. I think you might like it. But I already had some relationships established, that helped a little bit. But still, our company didn't start by thinking, how can we scale this? We started by thinking, who can we reach out to personally and build a relationship with? Now, I'm happy to say almost 2 years later, our company is doing extremely well, growing by leaps and bounds with almost no marketing, because we started at the human level. We told our story. Ben, I know that's one of the things you wanted to hit on here, storytelling. We told our story, how we solved our problem, and I literally just built relationships one by one with people who had my same problem. And because I knew the problems they had, I knew how to create valuable social content for them to latch onto. And because I was speaking right to them, because I was speaking right to their pain points, because I felt those pain points, it scaled for us. And those handful of users that we started with who had our problem, felt it, and we related to them, they amplified our message. So over the last 2 years, we've just been riding a wave of word of mouth marketing without having to spend. I think we did we did like a few social ad campaigns that completely failed because we had like, we had like 10 minutes to spend on them. But our greatest channel has always been that those personal relationships that we built of influencers, of power bloggers, and they went ahead and amplified our messages for us. So there's something to be said at that one-on-one level, and letting it sort of word of mouth scale itself.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I mean, instinctually as humans, we all want something to happen immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I think a lot of businesses don't understand that, because whether they're a small business or they're a mega corporation, it's like, I want it now. Give it to me now. And thus comes the advertising spend, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you spend all this money and then you're like, oh, why aren't things not converting? Well, because you don't have smart goals like Randy said. No, but actually that's true. So I'm going to go with another story too. We have a client that we work with. Their name is Capri Laguna, and they're a little hotel out of Laguna Beach, California.
Beautiful little hotel.
Yes, and they're sidled up next to this 5-star hotel that's about twice their size, right? So they're literally in their shadow. And so basically, in working with them and allowing them to tell their story and understanding kind of what the needs of their customers are, we ended up reaching out to a bunch of photographers in the area and said, hey, our customers love the scenery out here in Laguna Beach. Can we get some of your images, basically? And, we'll definitely help promote you. By doing that, we were able to do two things. The first thing we were able to do is attract a much larger audience, because people, again, like Dustin was saying, are extremely visual. So their content ended up being shared not only, of course, by the photographers themselves, which is also who we wanted, but by people from all over the world. End result is after about, I'd say it was somewhere between 6 to 8 months, not only did they get a lot of followers and but they got a ton of engagement and lots of people really sharing. But the end of the day, the end result is them being booked in advance. They don't have to worry about booking their rooms. People are coming from all over the world booking their rooms. So it's like every single quarter, they're just like, yeah, we increased by 63% revenues year over year. Social is working for them. They don't do any other paid advertising campaigns except maybe some things locally. So that's just an example. If a small hotel out of Laguna Beach, California can do it, you can do it for any business all over the world.
It's very clever. Yeah, I just said it was very smart. Yeah, well, why wouldn't we all think about it? Yeah, but it was a small hotel in California. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, guys. If you do have something more, you go ahead. We're kind of out of time, but you are the last presentation, so I'll let you go. I'll let you roll. Anything else? Do we have anything else to discuss?
And you want to sum up?
Yeah.
Some bullet points. I've got a few action items that I can lay out, but if you have anything, go right for it.
Not really. I mean, I think is that pay attention. Kind of, you're probably going to say all this stuff too, Dustin. But it's pay attention to who your audience is. Basically, like Dustin was saying, is find that one type of customer.
Find Cindy Lou.
Find Cindy Lou. But really take a hard look at yourself. Even if it only takes 5 minutes, take a hard look at yourself and dig through your emails with your customers, and see what kind of questions that you can answer for people before they ask them. It most likely applies to a larger audience. With that, you're going to be able to definitely get a lot of return out of social and your content. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest takeaway I would give out of this. Dustin, go for it.
Okay, I'm going to rapid fire some bullet points because I know people like bullet points. Okay, so just like Ben said, I think what every business needs to do is find Cindy Lou, right? Find that one customer. And the best way to do that is to not try and be on every network, but be on just 2 to 3 networks where you really know that your customers are. There's some social listening tools out there, mention.com, brand24.net, socialmention.com. Do some research, find where your Cindy Lou's are most active, 2 to 3 networks maximum, okay? Then be a cheerleader, be engaging, interact, talk to them, share their content, use visuals, and speak to them. Be a human being on these platforms, not just a random bot generating generic content. The internet does not need more generic, thoughtless content. It needs highly specific, engaging content that's built for real people with real questions, real problems, and you need to provide those real solutions.